Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch holding and just get straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or check the red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you like to. And if you're sticking around, guys, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to our news recap of the week, where we talk about everything that you missed in MMA this week. And again, timestamps are there if you need it. We're going to talk about everything from big news to like Jon Jones winning, from like the little fight announcements that you haven't heard about. So with that being said, let's get into it with the UFC 285 takeaways. So the biggest UFC 285 takeaway was obviously Jon Jones is back and he belongs in the heavyweight division. But something else to note is I think that Shavkat Rakhmonov looked beatable. He looked mortal. He looked unstoppable before that. But Jeff Neal, man, he's a good fighter, and I was really surprised to see him handle the fight the way he did. Shavkat fought with very carelessness, and Jon Jones didn't fight carelessness. He looked great. So those are the biggest takeaways from me, and I'd love to know what you think afterwards. Let's get into the news. First piece of news I got for you, and you may have seen this, Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. It was trending a little bit on Twitter. It's died down since then, but after Jon Jones won, Francis Ngannou tweeted, "Good job, Johnny boy, sincerely, the heavyweight king." And if you would see, oh my god, the replies to it, and still to this day, when Ngannou's posting anything, everybody is against him. Everybody's on the Jon Jones train, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not a big fan of Jon Jones. Or just this stuff outside the octagon, you know what I mean? But it's kind of funny to see everyone hating on Ngannou now after everybody was on his side. It's like just crazy to me how quickly the MMA fans turn, how quickly everybody's a follower. Absolutely insane to me. So everybody's like, wow, you're so scared of Jon. Wow, you're no heavyweight king. You left the UFC. It's crazy because everybody was like, oh, you go, Francis. You left the UFC. Just, you know, it's wild. Moving on, as you guys might have known, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic is the next fight to make. And Stipe claims that it's going to be for International Fight Week. Who knows if that's actually going to happen? We haven't heard anything from Jon Jones. We haven't heard anything from Dana White, but we know that this is the next fight. Both guys agreed to it. Dana White likes it. The UFC likes it. So I'm a little bit surprised they're putting Jon Jones back on International Fight Week, but still, have you not learned your lesson yet? More Jon Jones news. Jon Jones is officially also the #1 pound for pound ranking. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got to disagree with this. I got to give it to Alexander Volkanovski or even Islam Makhachev. I still think Volkanovski, though, pound for pound right now, I think he should be taken out of it, and he should be taken out of the GOAT conversation completely. If you have use a PED use in your history, I don't think that Jon Jones should be on that list, but I can't really deny that he is probably the best fighter right now, cheating or no cheating. Still, I got to go with Volk for me, but that's news. Jon Jones is the #1 pound for pound. Here's an interesting one that I would love to see. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Colby Covington might be the next fight. So Shavkat wants to fight Colby Covington, and Dana White said that Colby Covington has been offered a lot of fighters, and he said yes, he wants to fight, and he's actually being agreeable now. He's being very picky with his UFC fights, but now apparently Dana White said that Colby is saying yes to fights, so maybe he would say yes to Shavkat Rakhmonov, especially with the big win that he just got over Jeff Neal. And Shavkat didn't look untouchable, you know what I mean? So I think he would still steamroll Colby Covington, but it would be an absolutely fantastic fight. Could this be the next fight? Who knows? That would be insane. I would love to see this fight. Moving on to more news, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler got into an incident on The Ultimate Fighter. There wasn't really much to talk about here. All we know is that there was some incident where somebody got knocked out. McGregor pushed Chandler and they started exchanging words. So maybe that's what Dana White was talking about when he said that these two don't like each other anymore. Regardless, I'm excited to watch the show. I haven't watched it in a long time, but these two together seem like they'd make for pretty good TV. Here's a big fight. Charles Jourdain versus Kron Gracie got announced for May 6th, and I am very excited. I like Kron Gracie, but I am a huge Charles Jourdain fan. Very underrated fighter. Always exciting. I cannot wait to see that fight. We knew that Charles Jourdain had a fight in the works, but now it's actually official. He's going to fight on May 6th against Kron Gracie. I'm very excited for this. Moving on, Dan Hooker and USADA had a little bit of a situation. Dan Hooker is accusing USADA of visiting him more and knocking on his door constantly after his accusations to Islam Makhachev. So some people are pointing to this and saying this is USADA's way of saying, hey, you know what, we know that Islam's cheating and we're going to punish you for speaking out on it. I don't know how to feel about it. It could just be, I don't know, man. I actually don't know how to feel about it. Dan Hooker's making a claim. He's been making quite a few claims, and yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this one. This is something I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think? Anyways, Dan Hooker's making that claim. He's very upset with USADA right now. Moving on, oh man, guys. Nick Diaz wants to return to the UFC. He wants to get a fight. We've heard him say this again, but he's actually talking about it right now. He wants to fight someone like Israel Adesanya. He only wants to fight the best. He's going to get destroyed by any of these guys. He quit in his last fight. He looked horrible in his last fight. The only guy that he could fight is like a Matt Brown. Matt Brown would be such a fantastic fight for Nick Diaz. I just thought of that now. Oh my God, why isn't the UFC making that? That is a perfect fight for Nick Diaz. I would love to see that. Matt Brown versus Nick Diaz, but then I wouldn't know who to cheer for. That'd be tough. Regardless, if they end up actually giving Nick Diaz a big name to fight, it better be someone's like kind of on his caliber right now. Like even Matt Brown would starch him. And like not saying no disrespect to Matt Brown, but Matt Brown is way past his prime. You know what I mean? So I don't really want to see Nick fight anymore. Nate at least can still put on some like fun fights. He wouldn't look like Nick, but Nick is done, man. I don't want to see him fight again. Moving on, Michael Venom Page went on Ariel Helwani's show, and he talked about that he wants to one day fight Leon Edwards, and he can see him coming into his path one day. So there's nothing really too much to say about that, but if that means that Michael Venom Page would be open to signing with the UFC one day, I don't know whether or not to take that into a hint. I just thought it'd be something because, again, this is everything that you missed in MMA this week. So if you're interested in Michael Venom Page, maybe, and don't read too much into this, it's just a thought, maybe he's interested in signing with the UFC one day. Right now he's in bare knuckle. I don't know if he actually has a fight in the works right now, but still, it's an interesting idea. That'd be a really fun fight, MVP versus Leon Edwards. Now, here's a bunch of drama that was going on. Daniel Cormier on Jon Jones for the pound-for-pound #1. Daniel Cormier is more so like thinking like me, where it's like, hey, if you have PD use, I can't consider you the greatest of all time. And it's tough because Cormier, he does not deserve the hate he gets for all the Jon Jones stuff. Have we not learned our lesson now? Everybody, it's unbelievable to me how much like the fans follow. Jon Jones wins a fight and everybody all of a sudden just loves him again. It's absolutely crazy to me. Daniel Cormier just said that he doesn't consider him the greatest of all time. And people are like, wow, Daniel Cormier, Daniel just cannot stand to see Jon Jones win. It's like he probably doesn't like to see him win, but still, people are reading way too much into that. It's just like Daniel Cormier also, according to Jon Jones and according to a bunch of fans, pretended that he didn't see the submission that Jon got. I think Daniel Cormier is very professional when it comes to commentating, and he wouldn't do that. Plus, he called the OSP fight very well, and arguably, you could say Daniel was more emotional watching that fight than he probably was now. I just don't buy it, man. I don't think Daniel's just trying to dig at Jon Jones for no reason, but I understand where people are coming from. I just think as a fan, it's just following Jon Jones for right now, but that's some drama that happened this week. Moving on to the next topic, Devieson Figueiredo came out and said that he is fighting at 135 pounds. We did know this, and he wants to fight with Dominick Cruz. I think this is an absolutely perfect fight for Devieson Figueiredo. Just to warm him up in the 135-pound division. Cruz is on a little bit of a losing streak, or is he on a streak? Losing streak? No, sorry, I'd have to think about that. Regardless, he lost his last fight, Dominick Cruz. And I think it's a great way to welcome Devieson Figueiredo to the 135-pound division. Will Dominick Cruz take this fight? I don't know. He likes to pick his fights a little bit. Maybe he can see himself winning this one. Regardless, I'm interested to see how Figgy will do in the 135-pound division. Moving on again, Dricus du Plessis just got a fantastic win in the last UFC card, and he wants a title fight next. All I can say is, whether it's Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya, they are going to absolutely murder him. I would bet my bank account on that fight. Like, holy is not ready. That was a sloppy performance by him. Moving on, guys, and I apologize, there's a little bit of a lack of professionalism, but Mark Clemacco, I'm not familiar with this fighter. He signs with the UFC. It made a little bit of news, and people seemed hyped up about this, but I'm honestly not familiar with the fighter. So if you know who Mark Clemacco is, and I apologize, I don't mean to be disrespectful in saying that. I'm definitely going to learn who he is because I watch every single UFC fight. Anyways, he signed with the UFC. I don't know who he is or where he comes from, but that's a new fighter in the UFC, so hopefully it's really, really hype. Moving on to the next topic, Arman Tsarukyan is headlining an April event, I believe on April 29th. Regardless, the opponent is unknown right now. I don't know who it could be, really. Arman Tsarukyan said, well, it's the UFC didn't officially announce this. Arman Tsarukyan said it himself that he's going to headline the event, and it's always an absolute pleasure to watch a guy fight. Who would he fight? I wonder if he could fight someone like, no, because he just fought, I was thinking Damir Ismagulov, but you can't do that, right? Who else could it be? I don't know, because the top guys are pretty booked up right now. Maybe I'm missing somebody. Regardless, I'm excited to see this dude fight. It's always an absolute pleasure watching him perform. Moving on with Erin Blanchfield on the sidelines, Manon Fiorot called her out and wants to fight for a title or a #1 contenders fight because now, originally the plan for Dana White was if Shevchenko were to win the fight, Erin Blanchfield would get the next title fight and fight Shevchenko, but Alexa Grasso is now going to rematch Valentina Shevchenko, and then you could have a trilogy with that, depending on how that goes. I don't know if that's what would happen, but Erin Blanchfield was looking to be really pushed. Now she's really halted. So I think Fiorot is a good fight for her right now if she wants to stay active. She could sit on the sidelines, but it's not like she really, really deserves a title fight. You know what I mean? So I would like to see this fight happen. I hope Blanchfield takes it. And if she stomps her way to a victory in this fight too, then she absolutely deserves a title fight and would have even more hype on her. So interesting potential matchup there. Moving on, the Nevada Athletic Commission talked about Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett. You're not going to believe this, guys. They said there's no conclusive evidence that there was a nut shot because Jamie Pickett obviously wanted the fight overturned, and then they said there's no conclusive evidence. Go look at any replay. It was as clear as day that was a nut shot. I mean, like, whether or not it was intentional, I'm not saying like Bo Nickel's a dirty fighter or anything like that, but obviously there was a nut shot. It's just the NAC just not going back on any of their decisions just like they usually do. So There you go. There's some NAC news for you. And with that being said, guys, we're going to get into the little bit of a preview of what I'm excited for this weekend because UFC news has been very, very slow. And I'm recording this the night before it comes out, so I apologize if anything really big comes at tonight. I'm recording this at night before, again, the video release. I'm going to release this in the morning. So, guys, LFA's tonight, very underrated organization. Bellator's on. I'm excited to watch that. And if you're a gamer, I'm playing the new. I'm going to work. I'm coming home. I'm gonna play the new Fortnite season. I'm gonna go to my dad's, watch the fights. It's gonna be a fantastic time. And then Saturday we have Piotr Jan versus Merab Dvalishvili, and that's a really good card. I'm excited for some other fighters on the card. It's gonna be really fun. I'm particularly interested in the Bruno Silva fight. Man, and Jonathan Martinez, I really hope this dude wins, but I don't think he's going to. I'm a big fan of him. Piotr Jan is always an absolute pleasure to watch perform. It's going to be a really fun card. It's going to be fun. I don't know whether or not I'm going to watch Bellator or LFA. Maybe I'll switch between the two. Bellator is going to end a little bit earlier. But guys, if you have Fight Pass and you don't watch LFA, you are missing out. Very, very underrated organization. You have guys like Charles Johnson coming from there. You get to see UFC fighters before they get in the UFC. It just makes the UFC prelims even more fun to watch, in my opinion. So lots of good fights this weekend, guys. Let me know what you thought about this video and subscribe if you want to see more fight talk about anything MMA related. If you are interested, guys, I just made my first controversial video, and it's my brutal, honest opinion on Francis Ngannou. You can find the video right here, which will pop up on your screen. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.